Hello, welcome back to another episode. I'm just about to head off to Turkey, and I'm doing this as a way of pre-recording it so that you have an episode this coming Sunday. By the time you watch this, I should be somewhere on a flight or landed in Turkey. This is a photo of the band. The front man, the one on with guitar, his name is Adrust. And he was playing during the wedding that I was the official wedding sketcher. Is a title I gave myself because I was invited. I was commissioned to do a sketch for the wedding, and I'll show you the wedding sketch. This one, I had a lot of fun doing the sketch. A bit stressful because I had to do it live, and I was trying to create memory for the couple. But it was all fun. Anyway, I was commissioned to sketch the band after the event, so I decided to record that, and which is the episode that you're getting right here. So let's go. So for this sketch, I intended to make it simple. It's not going to be very complicated. It's going to have yellow background with purple front. That's basically the color scheme. As usual, I'll leave a copy of the photo in the community post as well as on Pexel. You can decide where you want to, download it. Up to you. I'll give you two options. So as you can see, I dropped in lemon yellow, new gamboge, and I'm going to drizzle in a little bit of cadmium as well to kind of make it pop. Simple enough color scheme. I do a bit of splatter to make it interesting as well. And for the skin tone, I uses my typical formula, which is Naples yellow mixed with quinacridone rose. If I want to make it darker, I will drop in a bit of quinacridone burnt orange. Those are the options and the recipe for skin tone, the one I use at least. You will see it use here. I dilute on certain part where there is light. I dilute it with water. My favorite darks on my palette essentially is a mixed. I mix French ultramarine with permanent alizarin crimson that gives me dark shade of purple. Occasionally I will drop in a bit of the dark purple that I have. Carbozelle violet. That's one of my favorite color. It's not that dark on its own. But I like to mix it and throw it in for an extra shade or different shaded hue if you like, and I play with those shades basically. So as you can see, I leave some of the trousers white because I'm going to dilute that part with water to give it the highlighted part of the pants. Funnily, I use the same color for the hair. I'm thinking in terms of value at this point. The accuracy of the hue or color is not that important, but I go for tones or tonal or value tones. As long as the value work, the sketch will be okay. It's not really a super accurate to the hue or color, as in like a fine painting. But for a sketch, yeah, it will work. So that's kind of like how I summarize it for myself. Next, I'm going to attack the white shirts. White is actually quite hard because your eyes and your mind seems to think that white basically is paper white. But that's just very, very wrong. If you can see the white shirts, there's plenty of shades in it. There's a bit of a bluish, purplish sort of shadow. In fact, there's a couple of layers of shadows. Depending on how accurate you want, you could go 2-3 layers of the shadows and you can make it quite intricate and complicated. But being the lazy sketcher that I am, I'm just gonna go in with like maximum 2 layer, but probably 1. I take the same mixture of purple, I dilute it way down with water, like lots of water, and when I'm happy with the mix, I use it for the shadow side of the white shirts. Very simple, very lazy, economical with the savings of trying to mix new colors, but it's just simplistic in that sense. But it will work because the value itself is what you're after. make sure you dilute it to the right consistency. You don't really want it too thick. You want it to be really, really thin, like tea, almost transparent. And after that, I continue to work on the various stuff like the guitar, more pens. It's good that they were in uniform, so I don't really have to use different colors. Essentially, the same mix with slight variation would work. Well, apologies, I have Cassie barking in the background because we have guests in the room, and Jack Russells don't like guests. So she's friendly, she's wagging her tail as she barks, but it's a bit annoying when she barks non-stop when our guest is here. As you can see, I continue, layer down the darks, and I leave whites where I will dilute the edges. Basically, you just copy the photograph if you like. I'm going to leave the photos, the one that I have here, and do it as homework if you can. It'll be nice. Although there are lots of the mic stand and there's stuffs in front of the figures. You can use your imaginations to kind of get rid of it. I mean, you're the artist, so you have every right to do so. Okay. Well, next I try to put in a bit of shadows underneath the figures. One of the mistakes beginners do with figures is that they forget shadows, and when that happens, your figures are like stickers stuck on papers, and they don't look integrated to the paper or the watercolor sketchbook that you have. So remember, just drop in a bit of a shadow, be consistent with the direction of the light, and in this case the shadow is because of the light coming from the back through the window. However, there were other sources of lights, and it could be confusing because this is not quite one source or one light source. There's multiple light sources involved here. Clearly, you just got to read the situation and decide how not to confuse your audience when you put shadows. Anyway, just a thought there as I was looking at my own sketch. There's a bit of inconsistency, but I realized there are multiple sources of light, and hence the shadow is going to the left. One thing you got to remember when you're sketching is you're always doing from big to small. Well, for example, the shapes that you're working on, you work on a big shape, then you work on a small shape. In the same way, when you're sort of putting down the layers of colors, you put in the big shapes of colors, the big blobs, and then you work on the tiny shapes. So in that same sense, you should be using bigger brushes and then switch on to smaller brushes as you go. You should try to stick to the same brush for as long as you can, and never go back to the bigger size brush if you can help it. So in other words, when you switch to the next down size, in terms of the brush that you have, the size that is, you try not to go back to the bigger size brush. So you are always going in one direction. Very much like when you're eating fine dining and you're using the cutlery from the outside and move inward, you don't go back and use the previous set of cutlery. I think this is one of the most meditative part of sketching or painting, when you're doing the little things. The reason for that is because you're doing observation. You're looking at the guitar, you're looking at the little shapes of the hole in the guitar, you're looking at little decorations on the guitar, you're looking at the hat, you're looking at the saxophone, you're looking at the straps that holds the guitar, you're looking at the little fingers holding the guitar, you're looking, all sorts of stuff you're observing. And the more entranced, enthralled you are with your sketch, not with your own sketch, but with the scene and the observation that you are performing, it's actually a very sort of meditative sort of exercise. And this is the part where you could basically just spend hours just doodling away and enjoying your sketch, so to speak. But my point is, sketching is such an enjoyable and pleasurable activity. You could do this for a long time, but sometimes I get in the zone and I forget myself, and that's when it's really fun and pleasurable, I suppose. Many of you would experience the same thing, and if you do, please leave a note in the description below. I'm sure you have something to say of your own experience as well, which would be lovely. Next part, I'm going to try to attack the more complicated instrument, which is the saxophone. Basically, the way I think about it, painting metal, there are thin, long strips of different colors of high contrast. In other words, a very dark strip line of dark will sit next to a very bright strip of yellow or white, and just watching out for the shadow part, watching out for the metallic reflection. You can more or less replicate the feel for a metallic object like a saxophone here. It's not that complicated. Just remember the reflections are long, thin lines usually, and they are highly contrastic. In other words, very dark sit right next to very, very bright. The next part, I'm going in with my white pen. It's basically the Mitsubishi sort of a Signal white gel pen. Everybody in Asia uses it. I'm not sure about America or in Europe, but in Singapore and Asia, the sketches all swears by this specific pen. I guess any white gel pen that's opaque will do. It doesn't really matter. I sometimes use my Copic white if I want bigger patches of it, but when I want thin, like when I'm writing the white lettering, it's very, very useful and helpful that the white gel just works very, very well. So I love it, and I carry it in my pouch basically. You get to this stage of the sketch, usually it is almost there. In other words, you are trying to isolate shapes, especially when you have dark shapes that has melted together and you want to separate them. You just use a very thin white line and just cut it off and split the two shape up, and your eyes will read the object much, much better. And that's kind of a way of trying to improve the readability of your sketch, and that's very important. Remember, when you're sketching, look at it yourself and see whether someone else looking at it would understand the sketch, or whether it's readable, right? Readability is key to the success of your sketching. Basically, it's very, very important. Just keep that in mind. And sometimes after the white, I find that I might have lost a bit of definition, and I go back with my fountain pen and re-ink the outline. Or it is an ink and wash, so it's not really a watercolor painting, because that would have been pencil and watercolor. But with a pen, you are sort of doing an illustrative style sketching, and so the black line is important. It is almost comical. Well, the act is not comical, but the sketch looks a bit comic, like a comic, right? So in that sense, I sometimes lose the black line and I'll go back and redo it. Here I'm going back with a bit of a darker color, but still very small brush. The smallest I have in is my sketching kit, and I'm trying to do long black lines to mimic the reflections of the metal on the saxophone. I recently added a couple of tools to my sketching kit. One is the gel color gold, and the other one is silver. And I realized that they are very useful because for metals, the gold reflective nature, and it really sort of suits the gel pen, which is gold color. I guess wherever you are, you might be able to buy these two gel pen. You can go crazy by buying too many gel pens and carrying, like 20 of those in your back sketching kit. Well, that's not my intention. I have 3: white, gold, and silver, and I find them potentially useful. I'm going to see how long I'm going to carry it, if I use it or I don't. But at the moment in this sketch, I seem to have found the gold and the silver useful, so I used it here. There you go. I'm at the finishing touches of my sketch. A bit more of the fountain pen with my black ink, and then a bit more touches here and there. I think it's pretty much done. So at the end of the day, I have done 3 similar sketches. I did one for myself in my sketchbook that I did on this for the band, off the band. And then what I did was I was commissioned to sketch the band for the host. She wanted one to be given to the band, so I did that while I was in Kuching. And then when I arrived back in Singapore, she told me that she gave the sketch to her son because her son liked it so much, and asked me to do another one. I just shipped the third sketch of the band this morning to Kuching. So in essence, I got two commission of the same band, so that's not too bad. And yeah, I enjoyed sketching them. They were really fun, very lively, and there's a sense of gesture or movement when I see them play their musical instrument. I enjoyed listening to them while I was sketching away as well, so that was very pleasurable. So this is the first sketch that I did. I did it live when I was there, listening to the music being playing in the background. And I love this sketch because it was very fresh, very sort of speedy in the way I executed it, and I captured a bit of the essence of the band. A lot less accurate in many ways, but there's a certain liveliness to it that I like. The second sketch that I made clearly was an improvement in some ways, but it lost a bit of its liveliness. It lost some of the sort of freshness that you get sketching live. And this is the one that you see in this video, the one I captured for you. And it in some ways still quite a good piece of a sketch, as I've described it to you. The third sketch probably is a more accurate sketch in terms of facial expressions and all that. I spent a little bit more time there this morning, but I also sort of designed the entire sketch. I put the figures a little bit bigger and a little bit closer to you as an audience. But there are some things I don't quite like about it because it's lost a bit of the freshness. But having said that, it's still I still like the sketch in some ways. Same formula, same approach. Because I was in a hurry, I didn't want to redesign everything from scratch. So yeah, so there you go. Those are the three sketches, and I hope you will try it out for yourself by using the photograph I provide. So meanwhile, stay safe wherever you are. This is We Take out for this week. Bye.